today I ask you a question. Have you sought how to restore what was missing? Possibly by, well, I'm going to be a part of the house of God. I'm going to go to church. Maybe we said things like, I've got to change. I got to put the Lord in my life. Enough has happened. I'm going to get my life on track. Sunday, I'm going to church. I'm going to turn this thing around, And maybe we built up some moral walls, even if you will. We put some walls and said, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to quit cussing, and I'm going to quit going to the bar, and I'm going to not watch those movies that represent the life that I don't want anymore. And I'm going to be a nicer person. I ask, have we sought to display honor for Him through establishing some of these walls of better morals and better attitudes? And have we focused on the most, but have we not yet focused on the most world-changing place of all? Our very own homes. I have a dear friend that was telling me recently of someone seeing a real kind thing that a young child of his did. And this was admirable, kids are typically like, mine, mine, mine. But this kid was not doing that at this particular point. He was looking for ways to share and to give and be compassionate to some of his siblings. It was totally unkid-like, And he said how people came and told us, wow, you must be raising your children right, and wow, that is a testimony of your home and what God is doing. And he said somebody else that spoke to him had heard about it, and they said, they were new in the Lord, and they said, I hope to be the parent that you are one day. And he says as he's reading this text or what have you on his phone that this person is telling him this through, he says he's sitting there watching this very same kids rolling on the floor, fighting, duking it out. And he said if he thought, and he's like, him telling me this was like, I want to be so careful that I don't portray this picture that seems like falseness outside. And I'm sitting here looking, he says, well, everybody's saying, wow, how great. He said, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, you ought to see him right now. And currently he's fighting for his home. He's fighting for his children. That's not a discouragement. It's just saying, you know what? This is what everybody's thinking, but this is where we're really at. And I'm going to fight for all I can for my children, that we move past this to the real Christ-like shining through them at all times. I wonder, do any of us find ourselves where the Israelites are in Nehemiah? Our homes given no attention. We attend church. We do the church thing. We help with a project. We build something for the church, etc. But our homes, if we are honest, need some serious attention. But we don't give it any. Why is it? What is it about the home? And why is it? Am I the only one that the temptation is stronger to just let the jealousy flow at home? I can't be jealous out here, but at home, maybe I could talk about it. Callie, can you believe why doesn't that happen to us? Why is it that this is allowed so much more freely at home? Possibly maybe the immorality is allowed at home. Though we won't do it anywhere else, it's allowed at home. We join in worship music in the church, and we read out the Word of God aloud in the church, and we give attention so oftentimes to the complete opposite at home. And I'm not trying to put words in the mouth. I'm just trying to speak. This is typical, average where we are, so feel no condemnation. But have you seen that jealousy and meanness come out? We have seen the jealousy and we have seen meanness come out of these people in Nehemiah earlier on. Let me ask you, do you ever feel like giving up during your week, but for some reason you just return? You ever feel like during the week, I just can't take anymore. I just feel too bad. I ain't going to church today. I ain't going to read my Bible. I'm going to sleep late. I ain't going to talk to him. I ain't going to talk to her. Just feel like we're losing it sometimes. You ever feel like giving up during your week? Yeah, for some reason you just kind of put one leg in front of the end pants at the time. And you say, all right, I'm going to go, Lord. And if so, let me just encourage you. It means life is happening. So don't feel condemned by that. But I ask you, though, this up and down cycle may be a part of your life now. But is this how we long to finish our lives? Because just because where we are now is where we are now does not mean it's where we have to finish. It's just because things are happening now that are happening now does not mean they have to always happen that way. Like my friend with his children, just because it was happening then does not mean that's the way that it has to always be. I wonder, is that why the people of Nehemiah were prone to jealousy and wanting to quit at the halfway point? Because they were so into it, but then they just said, that's enough. Because, we see, yes, the wall is going up. Awesome. God's restoring us. All right, looks great. Praise God. But what gain is being faithful to the Lord in the rebuilding of the wall in this will of God right here when I go home every day to a destroyed place, a destroyed home with destroyed lives, and also even to my very own self in a mirror, and I see my shortcomings, and I beat myself up, and I wonder, will this cycle ever change? You have a good day, yet we're come home sometimes to be reminded of all that's still left to be done. I love the feeling of uplifting. I love encouragement. But still, the place I live is different. So I just don't see the point. I wonder, is anybody there? I'm trying, but my children are still lost. I'm praying for them. I'm doing what I can. My spouse is still mean. My home, though there's several of us in it, is still lonely. But God, here I go again, going back to church. Go back to verse 3 in Nehemiah. It says, appoint the residents of Jerusalem to act as guards, everyone on a regular watch. Some will serve at sentry posts, and some in front of their own homes. Verse 4, at that time the city was large and spacious, but the population was small, and none of the houses had been rebuilt. This blows me away. They have a home where they reside, but yet their houses are in shambles. None of he says, earlier on, he says, we're going to stand in front when all this discouragement comes up. We're going to guard our homes. But yet they had no houses to guard. They say home is where the heart is, right? Their houses were just shambles. None of the houses have been rebuilt in 90-something years. Our houses and our homes reveal to us a truth deeper about ourselves than anything else. What goes on in the home is what tells all. Our houses are what assure us, are also what depress us about our real measure of hope and victory in Jesus. Our homes reveal who or what we really trust. Our homes cause us to dwell on who or what we really are. Our homes remind us, oh yeah, it felt so great today, but oh yeah, I'm defeated. And that's just the way it is. Oh yeah, God, I still believe you are greater, and I continue to watch and pray in faith for the day that my house reflects you. Friday, I did a survey, kind of a little Facebook thing, and just asked some of you, and for anybody who would respond, some of you did, about, in a simple nugget, what is the word trust? And really, sometimes I was hoping to kind of stir a story, a memory of trust. I remember trust. I remember when this person did this in my life, or I saw them act this way. That's trust. I know I saw yesterday in the social media world, Brother Bo posted a picture of a quarter on a table. He said a young girl saw on the floor and chased a stranger down to give it back to him that had dropped it. That's trust, right? That's an example right there of trust. But I got words like this, descriptions like this, self-descriptions like this. Absolute confidence. Resting easy. Taking someone at their word. Somebody said all in. Trust means all in. It's all in. Giving without reserve to reason. And I got many, many more. With those descriptions, I want to read this next verse. In Isaiah 30, verse 12, it says this. This is tragic. It says, "This is the reply of the Holy One of Israel. Because you despise what I tell you and trust instead in oppression and lies." Now what has happened? The people of Israel have been rebellious. They've been turning on God. They're like, "God, you forgot about us. God, you're not around. God, you don't do nothing for me anymore." And He's like, "It's your own sin. It's your own rebellion. Let me tell you, you keep blaming me for all this, but let me tell you why the things are going on that are going on." And he lays in the next several verses about things that are going to get worse. He says, "But in the day," finishes out the chapter, "in the day you call out and you come to me, I'll take you back with open arms," just like that, just so fast. But let me tell you, just so you know, before we get to that day where you're ready to say, "God, I'm all yours," before you get to that day, I want to wake up and let you know why you are right where you are. Bring that verse back up, please. I want to let you know right where you are. Because you despise what I tell you. And you trust instead in oppression and lies. Let's read that verse, leaving that verse there with some of these words. "Because you despise what I tell you, and you have absolute confidence in, you rest easy in, you're taking someone at their word, you're all in, you're given without reserve or reason to the oppression and the lies." All in on the oppression and the lies. Today I want to ask you this question. Is there an oppression that has existed in your life, this oppression that's less than God's love and His faithfulness, that maybe has existed in your home? Is there an oppression that has existed that brings the pressure of sin? Maybe it's a family tree that says, "You know what, it ain't never going to change, and we ain't never going to be any good, and we're never going to win." And maybe your home is different. Maybe it's just like so-and-so's, where they praise Jesus in the morning and thank Him for the good things that He has done at night. I'm sorry, maybe it's just not like that. You're saying, "Why can't my home be like the ones who..." I bet our neighbors, I hear them, they turn up the Jesus music loud and make us want to call the cops on them, but they're praising Jesus in the morning, thanking Him at night. Why can't our home be like that? Anybody ever get that comparison trap? The comparison trap. And it all adds up, all the pressure adds up to oppression. But if you're a child of God, it's lies. Bring up that picture for me, Joanna. A lot of times, maybe we look like this. We trust the lies over the truth. These thoughts, that maybe, because if we're a child of God, that's all lies about what we can't do and what we're not going to do and about how things got to be. These thoughts may have been rooted for a while, and so you not only say them, now we think them and we see them, but when we honestly trust them as more than the truth and the authority of God's Word, how ridiculous does it sound anyway to trust in oppression and lies? I mean, when we take it at face value and we quit looking through the window at other people and we start looking in the mirror at ourselves, how absurd does that sound? But how often does it happen? And we come to the house of God and we meet up with the people who seem like they care, but when honest, we go home from a restored house of God. We've been a part of the restoring honor to God through our praise, our worship, our fellowship, but we go home to a still broken down house. And we think the broken condition is who we are because we believe the oppression and the lies of what we've experienced. I want to show you a video before we go any further. Bring that video up, please. Maybe it looks something like this.
Jesus, I just don't trust you.
You don't trust me?
No, I mean, I want to trust you. I just don't.
I have an exercise that I think will really help.
Oh, okay.
Stand here and face this direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you trust me?
No. I just said I don't trust you.
All right, well, this is all part of the exercise.
Oh,
all right?
Okay.
Whenever I ask you if you trust me, you say, "Yes, Jesus, I trust you."
Even though I don't.
It's practice.
Okay.
So, do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you.
Now, fall back.
Are you going to catch me?
Don't worry about that part.
Okay, that's the part I'm worried about.
You can do this, okay? Just trust me.
Trust you.
Fall back.
Okay, well, Jesus, I trust
Good.
you. Yes, I do trust you. I'm gonna fall.
Okay.
Woo!
Okay.
That's great.
Let's try this again. Just face this direction and keep your feet planted. All right? Do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you.
Now, fall back.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
All right.
I'm really gonna do it. Okay.
Good.
Oh, Jesus, you're really good! I didn't think you were gonna get me, but you did!
Oh, that was great!
That was great!
You're ready for level 2.
Level 2, here I come, baby! Woo! Whoa!
Okay, hold it.
Oh, you know what? You're too close. You need to move back.
Ah, right.
Okay.
This one's a little bit different, Laura.
Oh, okay.
Stand here,
Uh-huh.
but face me.
Woo! Forward ball. I
Okay.
can do that.
Wait.
Whoa.
Okay, wait for my signal.
Oh, right, the Jesus signal.
Yes, the Jesus signal. Do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you so much.
Good. Fall back.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Especially when you do it.
Seriously?
Of course.
Okay, Jesus, I don't know if you noticed this, but there is nobody over there.
I know it looks that way to you.
It looks that way. It is that way.
You can do this, Laura. Just trust me and fall back.
Jesus, I can't do that.
We can do it together.
I can't.
You can.
I won't.
I wonder if that's an accurate picture ever. Seems crazy, I admit. Just breaks my heart to think that I've done the Lord like that. Of all that He's done for us. And when we remove the pretty words, it's really not a struggle. It's just no, Jesus, I fell before. I just won't trust you. I'll trust the experience of last time somebody said they'd catch me, and they didn't. No. Wow. You know, when you read the houses are destroyed in chapter 7, it makes Nehemiah 4:14 even more powerful to me. In Nehemiah 4:14, he says crazy things like this. Drop down about halfway through the verse and it says, "Don't be afraid of the enemy. Remember the Lord who is great and glorious, and fight for your brothers and your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes." In chapter 4, it says, "And fight for your homes." But in chapter 7, that's when they let us in on the, "But you don't have anything." Wow. Fight for your home. Remember in chapter 4, the people got down. They were grumbling, they were complaining, they were like, "We can't do this anymore," because they were focusing on the what was going on instead of the who is the one who held them and who was leading them. In chapter 4, he says, "Fight for your homes that currently physically are in shambles. But let them remind you that the day is coming to build your houses. Just as you were rebuilt, I can rebuild your sons, your daughters, your wives, your brothers, your spouses. Just as I'm going to rebuild your homes and you're stepping out in faith and you're guarding your homes now by casting aside this grumbling, this complaining, this sin that's so easily taken. Just by your guarding your home now, I want to let you know the day is coming when you will restore your home, and I want it to be a sign to you that I will also restore everything else that may seem like it's currently in shambles." You know, fight for your homes. There were no conditions of pride and joy or encouragement to look at. There was nothing like, "Oh, yeah, man, I can see my house is looking great. I'm going to take care of that baby. I'll put some work into it." No, it's a pit. They didn't blow it off saying, "Well, you know, hey, Nehemiah, cool words, but we don't have any homes yet." In their broken and their tragic and their discouraging-looking condition, they began to treasure and guard what they didn't have, but they desired and they trusted God for. They guarded what they did not have, but what they trusted God for. It reminds me of a testimony I heard yesterday of a lady praying for her mom, a lady, Indian lady who had gotten saved, and Her and her husband were living for the Lord, and she kept reaching out to her mom over a span of like 17 years. And her mom would give her things like, no, I can't listen to that Jesus stuff. And I would get in so much trouble. My husband would be mad at me. He would be very angry with me. I can't do that. I can't do that. For years, she kept bringing it up. One day, the day comes, she got a phone call. Her mom was in the hospital and very sick. And she looked at her husband. She says, I got to go tell my mom one more time. And they made the 17-hour drive and showed up in the hospital room and began talking with her mom. Her mom looked up and said, I want you to know I've trusted Jesus. And within about 3 weeks, she passed away. But she never gave up. She kept guarding that which she desired for. She kept guarding and treasuring the thing that she was believing God, and she knew God would fulfill. She was saying, you know what? I will stand though my mom is in shambles. I will guard her and treasure her and protect her and put the word over her and pray over her. If it takes 17 years, then so be it, because in the final 3 weeks, it's going to come out all right. What do we guard and treasure, or do we believe the lies? Do we trust in our God, or do we trust in the oppression? Reminds me of speaking to a man who's suffered many consequences. And he looked me in the eye and he says, you know what? He says, you know what? I regret most of my life. And in a tender-hearted moment, he said, I regret all the choices I've made up to this point. He said, I regret all the choices because they've been about me. And I've gotten my life in shambles and a wreckage of my past to show for it. I regret that I have not been building my life on the desires of God. Wow. Fight for the broken homes. Reminds me of a man that was talking to me recently in my office, and he thought because we were in the similar age break that I would enjoy the conversations about drinking and women. And he begins to talk, and he's carrying on, and talked about how, much he drank the night before, and about the different women, and about you probably got some women, don't you, and all this, yada, yada, and thought it was cool talk. And I let him go for a while, and then I just began to talk to him about what trusting Jesus really looks like, and about it being a relationship, and just began to share testimony with him. And all of a sudden, this big man, he's making good money. He's living the life according to the world. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, with a tender heart, he says, I've never thought of it like that before. Where do you go to church? Because that's the place I want to go to. And I said, sir, you live probably about 40 minutes from my church. He said, it don't matter. He said, I'm going off to work, but when I come back, I want to come. Because I've never heard that before. He didn't know I'm the pastor. He didn't know anything. We fight for our homes because we don't trust what we see. We don't trust the oppression and the lies. We trust God's plan. We trust God's power. What are you looking at every day, that everyday experience that tells you this is your home and this is your life and this is the shambles that it will always be? What is it that reminds you that? What is the failure? What is the stumbling block that seems to come up that says, God, will I ever get over this? Will I ever move forward? I'm praying, I'm reading, I'm doing, but why will I ever get over this? What is that thing that says, trust your experience, not your God? What is it that screams that? Fight for our homes. Are you wondering what's wrong because you've given honor to God's house and even some of His morals? But if honest, at home, the oppression of the past experiences, the lies that nothing can and will get better, are so often what we trust in at home. I want to give you, there's a good side to the story. Because, see, whether we say our hang-ups or whatever list we made earlier on, really our only hang-up is our trust system and what we're trusting in. Let me give you some good news right here. In Psalms 37:3, it says this: trust in the Lord and do good. Let me read it. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on His faithfulness. And drops down to verse 5. I'm just kind of speeding. The whole chapter is good, but just for time's sake. Verse 5, I'm sorry. 37:5. Did I write that down wrong to you? 37:5 says, commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He will bring it to pass. And this is where God says, you Israelites, y'all are suffering because you trust your oppression and lies rather than what I'm telling you. Because I'm telling you, if you will commit your works to me and you will trust in me, I will bring that thing to pass. That longing, that destination, that looking. In verse 40 it says this of chapter 37. It says, and the Lord shall help them and deliver them, and He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in Him. You know, over and over and over and over throughout the Word of God, this has been the story. The people who do not trust suffer wreckage. We can blame it on anything, but it just is what it is. And the people who keep seeing the impossible become possible and keep seeing wreckages healed and keep seeing things restored and keep seeing lives built are the ones who guard their homes and say, no, I don't care what it looks like to my physical eye, because in my spirit I know, God, you are faithful, absolutely. And you shall deliver me just because I trust in you. There's a time in the Old Testament where one of the prophets is out and he's in a valley, and the king comes to him and he's all upset because all this enemy is around him. They're in the valley. All the enemy is surrounding on the top. And he looks at it and he says, prophet, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Like, Elijah's like, we ain't worried about it. What do you mean? And Elijah says, Lord, open his eyes to see. And what happens is, all of a sudden the man can see all the angelic, all the angels of war in chariots right behind the enemy. And they take them out. And he's like, oh, got this covered. It's taken care of. What is it that God is just saying, if you will just trust me, I'll deliver you. No matter what. I'll save you. No matter what you've been through, no matter what you've done. I'll rescue you no matter where you are. I'll heal you no matter how bad the sickness is. I'll bring things back that have been destroyed. You just continue to guard me in your homes, in your innermost place. And what will happen is I will restore unto you far above and beyond anything you ever imagined. Literal word of God. What is it? I want to ask if you will, please stand. I want to ask you this time, reflect. God, Jesus, have I truly trusted you, or have I got caught up in a religious rotation experience where I'm on again, off again, in, out, all in between? But Jesus, have I really trusted you to the point that I'm bringing you in my home? And I'm going to guard that sacred place. I'm going to guard it because that, a red, hot, fiery home for Jesus, is what's going to tell other people about your glory and your faithfulness like nothing else.